Hello and welcome to Primetime Television. My name's Niall Hickman and I'm the Daily Express's boxing correspondent, have been for the last 9 years. But in the last few months I've got to know Carl Froch very well as I'm ghostwriting his autobiography as we speak. We've got Carl and his girlfriend Rachel accordingly, and we're going to find out exactly what makes the Cobra tick. Carl, I suppose we've got to begin at the beginning, haven't we, as they say in the movies. The name Froch isn't exactly a sort of Nottinghamshire name, is it, Carl? Where did that come from? What's the background to you?
Polish grandparents. Obviously, my dad's side of the family is where the name comes from. My grandma and my granddad both come from a lovely place called Krakow in Poland.
Oh, yeah.
World War II. Got out of there when the going was rough and came over to England. A lot of people that came over, they worked, especially in Gedling in Nottingham. They was in the pits for years. He spent years in the pit.
Did you know him well? Can you remember him?
I can remember him, yeah. We used to go down there most weekends. My dad used to make a point of taking us around there. His name was Wojciech, but we used to call him William, or we called him Grandad.
As one would.
It was called William, yeah. Wojciech Froch. It's very, very Polish. And my grandma, Alexandra, she was... obviously, she was married to him for years. They've started a family, 5 of them in Britain, and I was born and bred in Nottingham City Hospital.
And your mother's a Geordie, wasn't she? Carol was a Geordie, wasn't she?
Yeah, she spent early part of her childhood in Newcastle.
Ooh, and that's dangerous.
And she moved to Nottingham, and she met my dad in the local bowling alley. Believe it or not, we revisited the place a few years ago.
You didn't?
Yeah, we did. We did a relaunch of it, the AMF Bowling in Nottingham, and my dad was there, my mum was there, my stepdad Steve, my stepmom, because my mum and dad separated when I was very young.
Yeah.
We're all still a very close family, we all get on very well, which is great.
Love blossomed in the bowling alley.
It was unbelievable, it was like a big reunion from back in the day. My dad's like scratching his head saying, I can't believe it was 30 years ago.
What's your earliest memories then of your parents? I think one of the times you went to see your dad somewhere inside, wasn't he?
I did, yeah. It was a bit unruly. Back to the Polish upbringing, it was quite a strict upbringing. My granddad was very, very strict, and my dad used to get involved in just little bits of trouble. If the teacher would send a letter back, my dad would get a severe thrashing, and if the police knocked on the door, well, bloody hell, I mean...
all hell broke loose.
Yeah, exactly. So my dad basically rebelled against it and left home quite early. He left school quite early, 14, 15, ran away from home, and he ended up in doing the whole system. He basically did the Borstal Young Offenders Institute, and then as soon as he was 18, he spent a couple of years moving around different prisons, mainly in Lincoln. At the age of 18, 19, he had to grow up very quick. He learned his trade, his joinery trade, in prison, and he also learned how to fight. It was boxing. Because by partaking in boxing while he was in the Borstal, Morton or Borstal it was, he was able to get weekends off, and he was able to go away and fight. He could have a pint after his fight, actually, and go back and breathe on his roommate, smell that, and breathe on him, could smell the beer. So he used to do that, and my mum used to make the effort to go and see him fight. She'd jump on a train and go and watch him box, and then have a little kiss and a cuddle, and then he'd go back to jail, and she'd go home. But it sorted him out. It made him more ruly and more disciplined. Like I say, he got his joinery trade, and he boxed.
And he boxed.
So it was good for him.
And he was a good boxer as well.
He had 26 fights, only ever got beat once. By a guy called Stevie Bond, I think the guy's name was.
Really? Didn't he used to get you down in the little garage and get you whacking against a little ball from a very early age? Apparently.
Yeah, that's where it started. He had quite a heavy bag full of sand and stones. I can remember it just being solid. I used to hit it, it wouldn't move, but my dad used to put combinations into it, and I used to think he looks good hitting that. So yeah, I used to hit the bag in his garage, and that's how I started boxing.
Was it?
In the old bag in the garage. But he took me to the local amateur boxing club.
Did you find from a very early age, Carl, you were a strong kid, or were you just a spindly little youth like all the other little boys that you used to run around with? Were you naturally strong?
I was a spindly little youth, to be honest. Yeah, even coming up through secondary school, I was a very, very late developer. All my friends had hairy chests and deep voices, and I was still like, my voice was waiting to break, and I was like hiding in the showers thinking, I'm not having a shower, get dressed first and wet my hair, because I was a very late developer. So it wasn't until I hit 19, 20, probably 21, I started to mature a little bit. When I left school, I was about 5'2", 5'3". I can remember being really small when I was 16.
So when you're whacking this bag in the garage as a little boy, it was just a hobby, wasn't it? I suppose you just decided, you know.
Although I was hitting that bag probably at the age of 7, 8.
Yeah.
After my dad, because my dad would have an actual workout, he'd hit the bag and he'd lift some weights. But he took me down to the local amateur boxing club. I was about 9 years old, because I can remember I was too young to compete and too young to go for my medical. My older brother went for his medical, but he failed because he's got a stigma in his right eye, just slightly short-sighted. He couldn't box, so...
But you could.
2 years later, I went for my medical, passed the medical, and I started boxing at the Phoenix at the age of, I think, 11.